Aid agencies are warning of acute hunger in Afghanistan this winter. New figures show that nearly 16 million people, more than a third of the population, will face extreme food insecurity heading into 2024. Almost half of those affected are children.
Afghans don't have enough to eat. That has been clear for a long time, but the crisis is deepening. As 2024 begins, aid agencies have a grim view of the year to come. They estimate that more than 1/3 of the country's 40 million people may experience acute food insecurity before spring. Half of them are children. Hunger is dangerous for everyone, but children especially. Insufficient calories result in physical and mental development issues that cause knock-on effects later in life. A range of problems have converged to cause the hunger crisis. There is often less work in the winter, while food and energy prices rise. Global economic conditions have squeezed relief groups. Sanctions on the Taliban have also made it harder for those groups to work in the country and provide aid.
If aid is being used as a tool to pressure us, then the Islamic Emirate has its own values, which it will safeguard at any cost. Afghans have made big sacrifices in the past to protect our values. They will endure the cutting of aid, too.
Those values include some of the harshest treatment of women in the world. Women largely have to stay home and can't work. That makes it even harder for families to make ends meet and feed them.
It's been 2 months since I was able to buy milk for my baby. I give her green tea in a feeding bottle. And I give her medicine, which makes her sleep from one morning to another. Because if she wakes up and asks for food, I have nothing to give her.
Afghanistan presents a challenge to the international community, which wants to starve the Taliban of power without starving the population of much-needed food.
Let's bring in Martin Rentsch, who's a spokesperson for the World Food Programme. Mr. Rentsch, thank you so much for making time to come on DW. How serious would you assess the situation in Afghanistan today?
Well, I can only say the outlook for 2024 is really grim. More than 1/3 of Afghans need food assistance, and basically every province in the country is in crisis levels of food insecurity or even worse. I mean, admittedly, I have to say the numbers have improved a bit in 2023, actually after large-scale and sustained humanitarian food assistance following basically the near collapse of the economy after the Taliban takeover. We actually were able to pull millions back from the brink. But also last year we saw a huge funding crisis and we had to cut millions from our assistance, and actually millions of people rely on WFP assistance to survive the day. And that's why we basically go into 2024 with an empty tank.
Yeah, you were forced to cut your caseload by 66% last May. What does that mean in practical terms for the people on the ground?
I mean, there were cuts that basically leave a significant number of Afghans out of any hope to get food for their families. And actually, women bear the brunt of these cuts. 1 in 5 households that we actually served, women are the sole breadwinners. And so they were most affected. And especially now during winter time, this is a terrible situation because many people in Afghanistan that has also been struck by earthquakes in the West and also, the forced returns from Pakistan. We are fighting on so many fronts, on so many humanitarian fronts, and our resources are depleted and people are suffering at the same time. And we are basically the only ones who could help the situation, but we are running out of resources as well. And that's the situation.
In your opinion, and in the case of Afghanistan specifically, what is the biggest preventable factor in driving up hunger? Is it the fact that women are being shunned from working and from participating in social life?
I mean, look, economy is down. There's no recovery in sight. Food prices are still high. People survive on the bare minimum. They have exhausted all resources. Children are begging on the streets. That's what my colleagues tell me. There are child marriages to get money. And if we want to prevent people from slipping more into hunger, we have to sustain this desperately needed international assistance, because we actually need to look beyond politics and see that people are suffering. And I mean, actually, they have been suffering for decades now.
So is there not a sense of urgency? How can the international community be made aware of the dire situation in Afghanistan then?
I mean, I think the international community is aware, but, you know, there's also a certain donor fatigue. I mean, we have so many crises all around the world. We have Gaza, we have Sudan as a regional crisis. And also, you know, federal budgets are also depleted. But, I mean, again, this is also about, you know, humanity. We cannot abandon the people in Afghanistan who have been suffering so much. And we cannot basically, we cannot let aid go and need to keep up this level of assistance, because we were able to pull back people from the brink in 2023, 2022, and we have to do this again, probably this year.
Are your staff in Afghanistan observing efforts by the Taliban to address this hunger crisis at all?
I mean, I'm not aware of any social system or widespread effort by the de facto authorities to address this hunger crisis. But again, we should not make this about politics. It's about the people. We cannot abandon the people of Afghanistan, and I think and I hope the international community supports us in our efforts to actually mitigate the suffering in Afghanistan.
This is Martin Rentsch of the World Food Programme. Thank you so much.
Thank you.